Hello everyone, my name is Wambui Paula Waibochi. I am born, bred and living in Nairobi, and I'll be your moderator for today. And I would just like, on behalf of the Global Landscapes Forum and the Youth Landscapes Initiative, I would like to welcome you all to this informative but short session. This is part of the GLF live series, and the Youth in Landscapes Initiative has teamed up with the Global Landscape Forum to produce youth-led episodes that showcase the wonderful projects, dreams, and initiatives that young people from all around the world are creating. Today, we'll be focusing on the stories of 3 young Africans who are contributing to the transformation of landscapes around them, both for future and current generations. So just as I am adding our 3 wonderful speakers, I would just like to invite our audience to share where they are joining from, why you've joined this session, and also, if you can, what you hope to achieve from this session as well. So our 3 amazing speakers is Adrian Litoro, who I have Patricia Mwamba Congo, and Safiatou Nana. So I'm just going to add them. Hello. And yes, the audience can continue sharing where you're coming from and what you hope to gain from this live as well. Go live with Patty. Adrian is there. Adrian, you can say hi to the audience as well.
Hi everyone. My name is Adrian. I'm joining in from Kenya. I'm happy to be here. Nice to be with fellow young people talking about restoration.
And Patty, maybe you can say something.
Hello, my name is Patricia Kombo. I'm joining from Nairobi, Kenya. Pleasure to meet you all.
Okay, great. We are waiting for Safina, who is from Burkina Faso. I can see many more people are joining as we wait. Maybe I can check with the 2 of you. Are you all good before we start?
Yes, I'm good.
I'm also very good.
Yeah. As well, I hope the audience as well is good. Safina may have, I see she's joined the live. Okay. So we should be seeing Safina on our screens soon as well. And as Safina is joining, maybe just to start, I can ask the 2 of you just a couple of, starter questions. So the first question is maybe you can just do a quick introduction of yourself, as well as share how you started the project that you started. So I'll start with you, Patricia.
Okay. As I said, my name is Patricia Kombo. I'm a United Nations Convention to Combat Desertification Land Hero, and also Youth of the Year in the Environment category. And I run a community-based organization by the name Patri that I founded in 2019. And my journey started when I was in primary. We had environmental clubs. And from environmental clubs, from engaging with the work, I was exposed and I connected with nature at a tender age. But up to 2019, I happened to volunteer with an organization to Lodwar on a relief food mission. And from interacting with the kids and with the women in the society, it acted as an eye-opener. And from there, I flashed back how my childhood was, how environmental education at that moment really impacted me in knowing how to adapt and how to mitigate. And from there, out of passion, an idea was born of promoting environmental education in schools. And that's how we started Patri. And our main work is promoting environmental education in schools and also working with women to promote sustainable land use practice. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Patty. I hope you don't mind me calling you Patty or Patricia. That's fine. I'll go on to you, Adrian.
Hi, yeah. So as I said, my name is Adrian Leitoro. I'm the co-founder of Nature and People as One, or NAPO. I'm also the 2022 Dryland Restoration Steward for the GLF. And how I started is I studied business, and but my passion was for the environment. So after doing a bit of work and of course in business and in IT, I decided to leave employment and go do where my passion was, which is environmental restoration and wildlife conservation. And so I went, and the northern part of Kenya is somewhere which is really diverse and has a lot of biodiversity. And there needed to be somebody to start off that work to restore the drylands, right? And it needed to come from the youth, and that's sort of where we started from. So how we're doing the restoration work is we are currently operating a tree nursery, which is the only sort of tree nursery in the northern part of Kenya. So Kenya has a 10% tree cover, and so we are really contributing to that, and we really want to also make it work for our communities. So, of course, later on we'll speak more about how we're working with the community, but it has to be community-led ecosystem restoration. Thank you.
Great. And as we were talking, Safiatou joined us. Maybe you can say a quick hello, Safiatou. How are you doing?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
We're all good. It's great for you to be here as well. So we're just doing a quick introduction. Yeah, I can share a quick intro into who you are and how you began the project that you started.
All right. Thank you. Thank you very much for the kind invitation. I'm very happy to be part of this important conversation. So I'm Safiatou Nana. I'm joining from Burkina Faso in Ouagadougou. So how did I start my project, Solar Corridor? First of all, I am an engineer in renewable energy and climate change. So Burkina Faso, we are having, our economy is based on agriculture, which contributes to about 30% of the GDP, and it employs about 80% of the workforce. And you know, agriculture is also a big source of pollution for the soils, for the water, and etc.
I think Safiatou might just have paused for a second. Let's just talk about agriculture. But either way, we'll be asking all of you questions, and when she's on pause, we can get back to her. So I think now my first questions will then go to Patricia. You're a passionate environmentalist, and you have been working in environmental education for quite some time. And as you mentioned, you lead the PATRI initiative. So what do you think is the role of environmental education in raising generations that care about the planet? And what is the role of different actors, for example, schools, parents, and activist movements led by young people online? The most famous probably being Fridays for Future.
Thank you very much. And one thing that I always say is that a child or a society without environmental knowledge is like a bird without feathers. No matter what, they cannot fly to feed themselves. To me, environmental education is an enabler in attaining sustainable development goals, and more so in leading in restoration and also in preserving of nature. And environmental education is very critical in ensuring that all policymakers, all people that depend on land and that depend on ecosystem have the knowledge of what they are doing, and they have a clear mindset of what practices are doing. And education really helps people to make informed decisions, and also it helps in changing the mindset of people, and especially young people, that they can.
Whoops, are we losing another one? There is no live talk that will not have technical difficulties. So we'll just
on how to promote ecosystem.
Sorry, you paused for a second, so maybe you can, you dropped for a second, maybe you can repeat the last couple sentences.
Okay, I was saying environmental education is very critical as we are transiting in 21st century skills. It equips learners with the skills to transpass and also to explore opportunities in the green economy sector, and also it connects them with what is right for the society. And again, environmental education really opens and gives communities and people what they should do, because some of the practices that they are doing, they are actually harming the environment. And the teachers and community can play a role in ensuring that they pass the right skills and the right information to the young generations. And for communities, they can give the young ones a platform to practice what they want. And for the larger movement, the youth movement, what they can do is to practice what we are speaking, is to show communities how to do it, because I believe communities are changed by action and not by opinion. We can talk, but we must really move to the ground and show people this is how we restore degraded ecosystem. These are the right trees. These are what we are supposed to do to make sure we have an ecosystem which is sustainable for us, sustainable for our livelihoods, and an ecosystem that will help young people thrive into transit.
Great. She has paused. I think that was a great stopping point, Patty. I particularly liked the quote on people without knowledge are like a bird without feathers. So yeah, you really did talk about how environmental education and environmental knowledge is for everyone. So on that, what would be your advice on how we can make environmental education interesting and accessible to everyone? And if you have any examples from your organization, that would be great as well.
Oh, yes. What we do, we apply a 4-based theory whereby we are working on first-hand experience. This is theory-based. Then from theory-based, we take the kids and the learners to the outdoor. And this is for them to connect with nature and to explore different and unique aspects of biodiversity. From now taking them to the nature, we bring them now to start visualizing and putting into context what they have learned, and also reflecting what they see in their communities. And at the end, we do the practical, whereby now they apply both the theory and the experience and what they see. We make them now apply real. And what we're doing for them to apply, first of all, is through tree growing. We also have in projects like scouting for seeds, whereby we go to the forest, we help them identify seeds, we put them in nurseries. And currently we've started kitchen gardens, because we've noticed that a lot of communities producing food unsustainably. So through the kitchen garden model, we are training them how they can duplicate what they learn in schools to their communities and to their women, to ensure that they are fed with nutritious food and they maximize on the space that they have, producing food and also taking care of the environment. Our key goal is to ensure that they go to nature, because they learn by experiencing. They understand this is not just the tree that we see. They understand from the tree what we get, the benefit that we get, and they also get to understand that every aspect of biodiversity, every aspect they see in ecosystem has a meaningful impact in their lives. And again, through taking them to outdoor, we want to build their physical physique and also their mental wellness, because through connecting with nature, they're able now to reflect, they're able to have the memory, and we all understand the cognitive development of a child. What they see, it really gives them morale to practice. And by working them in the nature and training them, we've seen a lot of them transform their mindset, because we are not only doing for the day, we want them to transform their mindset and explore various job opportunities for them in future. And finally, we are doing environmental competitions. We've had people do beauty contests. We are doing environmental competition, like engaging them in community work, like cleaning, growing trees, and the best nursery, the kids are awarded. And this really motivates them, and it engages both the teachers, the communities, because the environmental clubs are led by teachers, and when they go at home, the parents now help them to implement what they learned.
Okay, that was really great to hear. And I think the audience, are quite lucky that the three of you are working in very different avenues. So you've spoken about education, so now I'd like to move on to Safiatou, and you work in engineering. And in 2018, you founded Solokadu, an organization that develops solar-powered irrigation for desert areas. So please share a bit more about how energy issues create both challenges and opportunities in your country, region, maybe even Africa in general. And you can touch on the impacts of your project as you answer that as well.
Okay, thank you. So Solar Code, what we are doing is to provide solutions like green energy for the agriculture sector mainly, because right now in our country, and I think in most part of Africa, farmers are using fuel-based pumps, which are polluting, and there is a lot for the farmers to know about the climate change issues and how their activities are impacting the environment and how they can cope also with climate change. And so basically our work is to really sensitize these farmers and also help them with capacity building training sessions where we teach them about adaptation measures to climate change, and renewable energy comes as like a solution for them to be able to continue their activity, increase their productivity while keeping the environment safe. And so our work with the solar powered pumps is to help them access more water for irrigation while reducing the use of fuel-based pumps. So I believe that there is a lot to do regarding this sector, because what I've seen so far is most projects in our country, when it comes to renewable energy, people are focusing on provision of electricity for lighting, and less attention is put in the area of access to green power for agriculture, for instance. Meanwhile, it's the backbone of our economy. So I believe that there's a lot of opportunity for job creation in that sector, and that's exactly what we are trying to demonstrate. Yeah.
That's great. I mean, from what you said, we can tell you're achieving quite a bit. However, I'd just like to ask, what support would a small-scale project like yours need from policymakers to ensure that your project is sustained? And what can they do to inspire other young Africans to take action as well?
Okay, thank you. That's a great question. I think we need a more enabling environment for projects that young people are trying to implement to be able to really take off and be benefit to the maximum of people. So we need strong policies in place. We need incentives and drivers in terms of financing schemes. For us, our biggest issue has been access to finance, because you come as a young person with your dreams, and people will not trust you until you have proved what you're capable of, and that also needs financing at the beginning. So especially for engineering projects like ours. So I would say financing and also capacity building to train young people to see the opportunities that there are in this sector, as well as in agriculture and energy. And also, I would say a lot of showcase of successful stories from around other countries in Africa that will inspire our young people to see that it's possible to actually combine renewable energy and agriculture and economy development. So yeah, basically the three: finance, capacity building, more of showing us examples that works actually, and even the failures as well. We can learn from stories that are failed. So yeah, it's good to share.
I think it's also nice that you said showcasing is important, because I think this is the whole point of this talk and the other points in the GLF series. And I'd asked the audience, what do they hope to gain? And for me personally, inspiration was one of them. But in addition to all this work you just talked about, you are also part of the GLFx platform and the GLF platform chapter, sorry. So for those who don't know, these are localized communities of practice that work on progressing sustainable landscapes, and they are all over the world. You can check the GLF website for more. So can you briefly tell us about the future for your chapter that you coordinate?
Okay, so our chapter is GLF Ouagadougou. So in terms of plans that we have in the near future, we are planning to increase more on community actions that we are doing in terms of like tree planting activities and cleanup activities. That is to sensitize the community on these issues of protecting the environment. We are also planning to have a national prize for a young landscape heroes, which we will name after Mr. Yakuba Sawadgo. I don't know, you might know him. He's the Alternative Nobel Prize 2018 for fighting drought in our country. So we are hoping to have him, to learn from him and to be able to show to young people that this is not only a issue that is, given to all people to take care of, but we are really, we have to be part of the world action. And also, we are planning as well to have action towards restoration of old mining sites. Burkina Faso is a mining country. So we have a lot of landscape issues due to artisanal mining. So people will leave the mines, and it's really affecting the whole ecosystem. And also we have newsletters where we can do some major campaign to share stories from other young people, for instance, like our co-speakers here. So, we are a French country, and a lot of stories are not being seen by the people here because of the language barrier. So the project here is to translate stories into French and to share it at the schools and at the university level. Yes.
Great. So just to reiterate, anybody can go and check if there's a local chapter, or you can start one if there isn't. So just speaking about future plans, the United Nations Convention to Combat Desertification is having an upcoming conference of the parties just next May. So Patty, since you're UNCCD Land Hero, maybe you can share with us some opportunities for young people to participate in this conference.
Thank you very much. And I will say United Nations Convention to Combat Desertification is an open platform whereby they are working on youth engagement, gender issues, land rights, and for young people, they can showcase what they are doing in their local areas by taking a photo, tagging UNCCD, telling the world what you're doing to save soils and what you're doing to become the voice of the land. And there are so many opportunities for young people, especially on if you want to learn more about land-based jobs for people. So go to the website and follow what UNCCD will do. And for the convention, there are a lot of youth-led and youth innovation that will be discussed. They can learn more from how they can become real voices of the land.
Great. So now speaking of voices and encouraging participation, and I'll move on to Adrian. As I said, you're the founder of Nature and People as One, NAPO, which is a term used by the Rendile and Samburu people. And you work with these local indigenous communities to preserve their landscape using their knowledge, voices, and resources. I would thus like to ask you about the importance of community dryland restoration, and what do you think can be the impact of small-scale restoration projects like yours in contributing to climate adaptation, supporting biodiversity, and contributing to people's livelihoods?
Thank you very much for that. I think really when we speak about restoration, we have to take a more landscape approach, and it's good that we're at the Global Landscapes. We're talking about the Global Landscapes Forum. So we have to take a landscape approach which at both nature, looks at both people, looks at the wildlife that is there. And so for us, it's how do we make nature work for our communities, right? And make our communities also work for nature. Once we find that balance, then that's the most important thing to actually consider. How a small-scale restoration sort of program will be able to add to this. You know, it starts with me, right? It has to start from me and you so that it can then scale to other areas. We have the opportunity in other areas. So the action that we take in our landscapes, being the dryland ecosystems, being other ecosystems, and as youth, then would actually, somebody would be looking and saying, this guy did that, why not do it the way this guy has done it? Also, you know, innovation isn't about doing something new. It's about taking something that has worked in another area and making it work in the area, in the context that you're in. The more we come together as young people and do this small-scale restoration work, then we are inspiring a whole sort of generation of, we're inspiring our fellow youth to actually take action and on the ground, doing the work, being implemented. And also the Restoration Steward as well is actually about that, which is getting resources to those that are on the ground. So for me, that's really the aim, what we're doing. In addition to assisting our communities, protecting biodiversity, it's also how do we then inspire more people to take up this work.
And as you do this work, you combine different knowledge systems. So what in your experience is the best way to bring together science and traditional knowledge for ecosystem restoration?
Thank you very much. I had Patty talk about education and how important, which I completely agree with, but we have to look at education from and also a non-scientific. For example, our communities have such rich knowledge in preserving ecosystems. We need to recognize that this knowledge is very important in coming up with robust nature-based solutions. So what we're currently doing is among our communities, the Rendile and Samburu. So these trees, cultural, we need to first document this knowledge to assure that this knowledge is not lost. And then we use this knowledge. If tree growing activities, then you know these trees are going to have for the communities. Lastly, also is you have to understand that these communities have been living ecosystems for the longest time. So they understand these areas, these landscapes. And the goal here is to own that knowledge. I think science has a huge role to play in ecosystem restoration, but it will only be effective if we build upon that community knowledge that already exists. Thank you.
I think that's a very important point. And then as a result of all the valiant efforts you've just been talking about, you were also the 2022 GLF Restoration Steward for Drylands. So maybe you can share with us your objectives as a Restoration Steward.
Thank you very much. So when we started out the tree nursery, the goal was ultimately to get to to restoration, right? Translates the tree in the landscape. So we quickly realized that, and this through talks with the mentors from the Restoration Stewards program. GLF now is supporting me to do what we call assisted natural regeneration, or call it FMNR. FMNR is assisting the nature to regenerate itself. And so going to do in a landscape called the Ndoto, which is rich in biodiversity. So the funds from the GLF would be able to help us get that work, help get our community involved in this ecosystem restoration, to take care of these natural environments and to restore them, assist nature to regenerate, because we need to play a hand in assisting the regeneration. In addition to that, the mentors also, we as young people, we need all the help we can get from our older generation. So that link between the old generation and us being mentors, that's quite important, because sometimes us young people can be very energetic, but sometimes we need someone who's already been through that path to tell us this is the right way, this is not the right way. So that for me is what is really important about the Restoration Stewards and the work that we're doing with them.
Well, I think so far it's been so great to hear from all three of you, but we're not done with you yet. I do have a few more quick questions for all of you. So to begin, we all know that Africa is not a monolith and we do not share a single story. Yet in the media, we are often portrayed as such. So what is the one thing, mind you, you'd like to tell the rest of the world about young Africans and our landscapes? Oh, sorry, I need to pick someone to start. I'll start with Adrian. You just talk, so you can continue.
Yeah. So most times Africa is seen as this place which has the most beautiful landscapes, the most beautiful wildlife. But I think one thing we have to recognize is the people that are taking care of these landscapes. There are people that are taking care of these landscapes, which are the communities, and by extension, actually now taking up that mantle to restorative. That are really very. It's up to us to protect these ecosystems, right? These beautiful places that we always see in the news, and they say Africa is the most beautiful. To protect that, but also people outside have to recognize that there are communities that are protecting these places and work towards empowering these communities to continue with this work. Thank you.
I'll move on to you, Safiatou. You can add your points to the same question.
Thank you. Yeah, I do agree with Litoro. Yes, Africa, we are known as, the beautiful continent where you have the wildlife and all these beautiful landscapes. So, for instance, for our country, the southern part of the country has attracted a lot of tourists because of these beautiful landscapes and watersheds, and due to climate change and all the damages that are occurring over the years, now the number of tourists are reduced, and also the community, the population are also, sometimes they are leaving the places when they have difficulties to continue using the soils for the agricultural activities and stuff. So I would say, as young Africans, we have a lot to do in order to protect these sites, not only for touristic purpose, but also and especially for agricultural purpose. It's not always the solution to leave the village when we face droughts and difficulties in terms of land use. The solution is not to leave, but rather to stay and fight the drought and all the challenges that we are facing. And no one will come to do it for us. So we need to really take action and take it now to prevent crisis and also to adapt ourselves and basically keep our beautiful landscapes in the continent. Yeah, so I really appreciate this platform that you are giving us to discuss this issue that is really, really important. Yeah, thank you.
Moving to you, Patricia. Question again is, what one thing would you like to tell the rest of the world about Africans and our landscapes?
What I'd like to say, when people hear about Africa, what comes in their mind is all issues related to loss and damage and climate crisis. But one thing that I can tell the world, that Africa has really transformed, and I'll give a valid example with the Great Green Wall. And we've seen how nations, how policymakers, how young people have come together to have a African-led initiative to ensure we restore our degraded ecosystem, the Sahel. And it's not only about growing trees, but growing up, growing resilience, growing food security, growing health being. What I can tell young people across there, Africa should be our home, Africa should be our pride, and no matter the challenges that we face, we can stand bold and not only grow the trees of restoration, but to grow trees of hope, trees of food securities, because we believe Africa can feed herself and also Africa can feed the rest of the world. If only young people and policymakers come together to make policies and science into real meaningful action on the ground and restore our ecosystem, because our ecosystem and biodiversity is very rich. Only if we realize the importance and the connection between land, soil, nature, ecosystem, and biodiversity.
Great. And then speaking of Africans and our landscape management and how maybe it's seen by the outside world, this year there's going to be the COP27, or the UN Climate Summit, which will take place in Egypt, and many have already started calling it the Africa COP. So what are your wishes or expectations for COP27? I'll start with you, Adrian.
Okay, my hope and...
Oh, anyone?
Go ahead.
First.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. My hope and for the climate, for the COP27, is to see climate issues close to heart of Africa to be advanced, and such include climate finance, adaptation, loss and damage, and also ecosystem restoration.
Adrian, do your wishes closely match those of Patty?
They do. I think one thing that the COP has to deliver this time is the adaptation finance that has always been promised, right? That has to come. And if there's one thing that the African COP can do, if it can unlock those finances to us, to the communities in Africa, then I think we will have achieved at least one major goal for being an African COP. Yeah.
Anything to add on your end, Safiatou?
I totally agree with my two predecessors. Yes, we really need to see, the promises come true, real actions taken to really enable young Africans like us to access all the finance and the tools that we need to cope with the climate change, and also to empower our communities to be able to do more restoration actions and really tackle climate change issues effectively. Yeah.
Okay, so we're nearing the end of this talk, so I'm just going to ask one last question. Sorry, I've lost it for a second. Yes, I'd just like to hear from each one of you one phrase or one thing that you'd say to young Africans that want to start restoring their own project or get involved in environmental management or ecosystem protection. Again, so I'll start with Patricia.
what I can say is the world is transiting into green economy and green culture, and it will be unfortunate if young people fail to tap this opportunity. And what they can do, start small. That little action and that idea that you have, you can turn it from just being an idea and being a restoration and actually making it to become an employment and a job opportunity for you and for the rest of the generation. And nature environment is one of the greatest employer. If we take care of them, we will actually be well kept, our well-being will be good, and economic impact will be felt by everyone.
Safiatou, do you have anything that you would like to say as well?
Yes, I would say to young Africans that we are experiencing a lot of challenges, but we have the power to change things. We really have the power, and we really need to to be conscious about it and actually take actions. As little as it is, you can start at your community level, even at your household level. You can take an action, and that will inspire more other actions. And it's the small things that everyone is doing that grows to be to have a bigger impact. So yes, there are a lot of barriers in terms of money or maybe access to tools, but start with what you have and keep learning as you're going. So get some mentors to help you and lead you as well. Never stop to hope, never stop to really hope for a better future for yourself and for your community. For us, we are really open as a GLFx chapter, and we really welcome anyone that would like to be part of this movement in Burkina Faso. And as well, we are also planning to have some conversations with other GLF chapters in the neighboring countries. So this is a good opportunity for you to start. If you don't know where to start, if you find a GLF chapter, you can join and be following, and you'll be able to like a volunteering actions, and that will give you more opportunity to see what you can do and how you can do it, and to really be part of it. So don't sit back, join us and do something.
Thank you. I'll move on to you, Adrian.
Yeah, for me, it's one I already said, which is the issue on innovation, which is innovation isn't just about doing something new. I want to reiterate that it's doing something that has worked somewhere else. So youth, young Africans, look at what's working, try to implement that in your landscapes. And two is just to echo what my fellow panelists have said, and it's inspired by Nike. Do it, and once you start, then you're already doing. Once you start, then you can learn from whatever you're doing. You can always plan and say, I'm going to do this, but once you get into the real restoration work, and when you face the challenges that are going to face you and them, so really my phrase is just do it, and we will see the results and the wonders that it can happen for us. Thank you.
I think those are great last answers from all of you. You've shared such powerful words. And I'd just like to thank you all for sharing your thoughts and ideas with all of us. And of course, I'd like to thank the audience for joining. For those who maybe have come late or missed part of it, or maybe there's some who've not seen any of it, please note that the GLF will have saved this whole talk on their Instagram, so you can see it later as well, and also share it later as well. So yes, I'd just like to thank all of you. I think if you saw, I was writing notes. So I hope everyone was able to get something from this, including the speakers. And also one last notice, remember that the Global Landscapes Forum Africa Digital Conference is coming up this September, and you can find out more on the GLF website. And everyone who registers during Africa Week will receive a free ticket for this online event, so get on that as well. But either way, stay tuned for the rest of the GLF Africa Week, and bye to everyone.
Thank you.
I think we've ended at
3:45
exactly, which I think we should be proud of because that never happened. So
Yeah.
the youth, we're doing well.
We're changing things.
Yeah.
We're not slow. All right, bye.
Bye.
Bye.